How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Samach Beis, Daf 162, on Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, got a tiny little daf here today. I suspect it's going to be a quick one. Pretty interesting stuff, I'd say. Let's do it. Kuf Samach Aleph Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Amr Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amr B'Yechanan. It says Yitzchak Bar Yosef in the name of Rabbi Yechon. Kol hamchokin kulon tzarich sheyichtov v'dein kiomeun. Okay, so as we learned Be'etzim yesterday, right? Yesterday we were talking about if you have to add in words to documents, so then you write before the signatures, before the witnesses sign, you write, by the way, you'll notice there's a few extra words. That's all good. I described, I wrote those in, I had to add them. The same thing applies if you erase some words, right? We said the only things you're not allowed to erase are shar v'kayim. Right? If it says shar v'kayim to indicate that the text of the document is over, and then you erase that and add new stuff, that's a problem. But if in the middle of the document you had to use an eraser and erase something and fix it, so that's okay, as long as at the end of the document, above the signatures, the scribe writes, that you'll notice that that there are some words in the middle of the document that were erased. It's okay, I erased them, it's fine, I had to fix something. Okay. So again, Amr Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amr B'Yochanan Kol Mechakin Kulan Tzarich Shichtov V'Dein Kiyumein. Okay, that if you have to erase epis, so at the end you write that, hey, look, I had to erase them, but it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's me, the scribe, who did it. And on the last line of the document, you don't write anything new there, right? The last line of the document, there's nothing new that's like important to the document there. No, at the end of the document you have, for example, you might recognize this kind of text from like a ksuba, something like Vikanino min ploni bar ploni lefloni kechoma dechosub mefarish leel, etc. Right? You write something like, and there was a kinyan regarding everything above. Nothing new, right? Just like a reiteration of the important stuff from above, but nothing new there. My time. How come we don't have anything new on the last line of the document? Because because we don't learn anything from the last line. We don't have anything new on the last line of the document because we ignore Be'etzim the last line of the document. It's an unimportant line. We don't learn anything from the last line on the document. So Rav Nachman, presses further, and he says to Rav Am, okay, but why not? Okay, we say, right, we don't write anything new on the last line of the document because we don't learn anything from the last line of the document. Why don't we learn anything from the last line of the document? So Rav Amram responds, because we learn in the Brisa, Hirchik es ha'edim shnei shitin min aksav pasul, shita achas kosher. That if the witnesses, if the gap between the end of the text and the signatures of witnesses is the equivalent of 2 lines of text, so that's possible. But if it's 1 line of text, that's okay, that's kosher, right? Because, the witnesses can't necessarily, aren't always necessarily going to be able to sign immediately under the text. Maybe it's hard for them, whatever it is, right? We assume, right? We have to assume that there are going to be instances where the signatures are not immediately under the text, but there's 1 line of space between the end of the text and where the witnesses sign. But 2 lines of space is already too much. Okay. Well, what's the problem with 2 lines? Well, Dilma Mizayev Vichosab. Well, because if there's 2 lines of space, we're concerned that a shmendrik is going to take advantage of that space and add additional clauses that really were not meant to be, that were not initially there. But But shouldn't we also be concerned that if there's 1 line of space, that somebody's going to just fill it in with new information that wasn't initially there? Rather, it teaches that we don't learn out from the last line. Meaning, this whole concept of that we basically ignore the last line of the document, that we assume that there's nothing new in the last line of the document, that in the last line of the document there's nothing important. It's because the witness, there are going to be times when the signatures, then when there's a blank line between the end of the text of the document and the signatures of the witnesses. Right, so we're concerned that there may be a blank line, and therefore we have to be concerned that if there is a blank line, somebody might take advantage and write in a new clause that wasn't initially there. So therefore, memele, we just always are in the habit of ignoring the last line of the document. So therefore, if there's no space between the end of the text and the signatures of the witnesses, anyways, we don't have anything important in the last line of the document. If we ignore it, it's no big deal. If there is a line of space and it's not, nobody writes anything there. So again, the last line of the document, there's nothing important there, anyways. And if somebody does write in some stuff, well, then that becomes the last line of the document, and we'll ignore that. So if somebody takes advantage and writes, some stuff after the fact, it will simply be ignored. However, we say that if there's two empty lines of space, that's a problem, because somebody then might fill in both lines with text. We'll ignore the last one, but then we would take seriously the second to last one, and that would be a problem. So therefore, 2 lines of blank text is a problem, but 1 line of blank text is okay. And we always ignore the last line of the document. There's not going to be anything new there. They ask a kasha. Shita v'mechzomai. What if there was a line and a half of space between the end of the text and the signatures of the witnesses? Tashma kamnir. Hirchik esaedim shnei shitin posel. We just learned in a brisa that if there's a space of 2 lines between the end of the text and the signatures, it is possible. Hashitava mechza kosher, implying that a line and a half would be kosher. But ema seifa. But one second. But I'll quote you the end of that brisa. Shita achas kosher. That 1 line of space is kosher. Shita achas u'de kosher. Hashitava mechza posel, implying that a line and a half would be posel. Rather, we can't learn anything from that brisa, because from the ratio it would imply that a line and a half is kosher. From the seifa it would imply that the line and a half is posel. So how do we pass him? What's the halacha? Tashma kamnir d'tani we learn in the brisa. Hirchik esaedim shnei shitin min haksav posel. That if the signatures of the witnesses are 2 lines separated from the text, posel. Pachos mikan kosher, but less than that, i.e., a line and a half, would be kosher. If there were 4 or 5 witnesses on the document, one of them turns out to be a relative or otherwise puzzle, so then it's okay, we could just be mekayim the testimony of the document with the others. And the Rashbam explains, I believe, that we're saying that we said that if there's 2 lines of empty space between the end of the text and the signatures, the document is puzzle. But what we're saying though is that if you fill in that space though with extra witnesses, then that is acceptable, even if they're relatives. Puzzle Edim, it's fine if you fill in that space with those witnesses. And this supports Chizkiah. Chizkiah says that if you fill in that space with relatives, with puzzle witnesses, it is nonetheless a kosher document, because you can be mekayim the document with the other witnesses. Vatitama, and this, don't be so flustered. It's not so crazy, Sharei, because after all, of your sukkah posel b'shlosha, right? If you have 3 tvachim of empty space in your schach on the sukkah, then it's posel. But schach posel rabba. But schach posel is only posel as the sukkah if there's 4 tvachim of it. Meaning, if you have 3 tvachim of space, it's a problem. But if you fill it in with schach posel, then it's kosher, as long as it's not 4 tvachim. So if you have 3 tvachim of empty space, it's a problem. But if you fill in those 3 tvachim with schach pasel, then it's taka okay. So here also, if you have 2 empty spaces, it's a problem. But if you fill them in with pasel witnesses, it is fine. Chevre, that was daf kuf samach beis of Masechta BavaBasra. All right. I think the big takeaway from daf kuf samach beis is about writing, being what's it called? Choser me'nyano shel shtar on the last line of the document. Peace out.